Hey, Chris. What's up? I didn't see you there.
Let's get started with already. Come on, come on.
All right. Well, let me put on my solar eclipse glasses. All right, come sit on my lap.
Wow.
Welcome back to Crosscut, everybody. I'm Tony Stark, and this is.
And
Say your name, Chris.
I'm your other co-host.
He's trying to think of something clever, but he got nothing. That's Chris. I'm Josh. Welcome back to Crosscut. Do you like my glasses? They are actually Tony Stark glasses.
Really? Nice.
Yep, I'm gonna wear them for as long as I want because we're dealing with the solar eclipse, but also I don't have to look at you, so it all works out. So, for the first time in Crosscut history, all right, I'll take them off. For the first time in Crosscut history, we are doing an episode that was officially announced the week before. That's right, if you watched our last episode, Misery, I said, you know what, we're doing Gerald's Game, I don't care. And guess what? We're doing Gerald's Game.
Gerald's Game. I have never seen this movie.
Did you know anything about it going in besides it's about a lady handcuffed to a bed?
I remember watching the trailer when it came out, and that it was about a married couple that she's handcuffed to the bed, and that her husband dies on her, and she has to survive.
Yeah, when I first heard about this movie, I was kind of like, this doesn't sound that engaging to me. And then the movie came out in 2017, actually came out on my birthday in 2017. So this movie was made specifically for me, although it is a Netflix movie. And I think that was one of my hesitations about ever wanting to watch this movie in the first place. I'm just like, it's a Netflix movie. I don't know. But anyways, for some reason, I thought this movie came out before 2017 because I thought I remember watching this when I was living in New York, but I guess not. Anyways, I finally decided to watch this movie one day. I think I was home on like a Christmas break or something. Okay. So maybe in 2017 or 2018, and I finally watched it. Damn, did this movie scare the hell out of me. This movie is creepy as fuck.
Well, what do you expect from a Stephen King novel?
I expect maybe a great setup and not a great payoff, or an interesting concept and maybe an ending that falls a little flat, possibly. That's not what you get in Gerald's Game. I think it's a strong story overall, and it's well done.
I like the story. I do have my negative stuff on it, some of the positive stuff. Like, I know the setup is very normal, very like just peaceful in a way.
The fuck you talking about?
But I do like the shots that they
I like
do.
how Chris thinks that a rape foreplay is peaceful.
You don't know what's going on at the very beginning.
Well, when you see handcuffs, what do you think's going on?
Okay, after that, yes, of course. After you see the handcuffs, okay, something's gonna happen. What I'm saying is, like, you have the horror element is not really there yet. I know you're setting up. I know
I get it. You think it's just a Hallmark movie gone wrong. That's it. That's all it is.
Well, I do appreciate the whole movie. I do like it. I actually do like. I did like watching it, but I don't know what it is that I did sense the tension right away between them two. Like, there's something there that's like a little disconnect. Then they explain it, right. They're going to get away for the weekend, trying to reconnect and whatnot. Like, fine. Then when you actually see the dog, I expected the dog to go right ahead and like nip at her or something like that when she tries to give the steak, but that didn't happen. So I'm like, okay. I like the middle of the movie. The ending, I don't, not so much.
Why don't you like the ending, Chris? Because I think this is a great ending.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because the character finally finds her, I don't want to use the word redemption, but this is basically a character that has been trapped her whole life, and she's finally free. I actually love the scene where she's talking to herself as like a younger girl, and she's basically, you know, saying like how she's free now. And first of all, when she goes to visit the Moonlight Man at the hearing, and he freaking
Yeah.
just breaks the cuffs, like, come
Yeah.
on, that's terrifying. But it's like she's standing up for herself finally, and she walks away, and she's fully free at this point. And I actually love that scene where she's walking up to the Moonlight Man, and then she sees her husband, and then she sees her dad. Actually,
Okay,
reverse
that,
that.
yeah.
She sees her dad, and then she sees her husband, then she sees him. And I just thought that's a great scene. I don't know why you wouldn't like it, but I guess everybody has their opinion.
It felt rushed at the end. It was like after she escaped, everything's going very fast paced to, like, in a way erase all the bad stuff that's happened to her. But I felt like it was all so fast. It was a rushed explanation what happened to her afterwards. Going back to like the middle part of the movie, when he actually dies, I didn't expect him like to come back as her delusion. I thought she was literally going to be like haunted by something.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, and that's where the book differs a bit. So I guess in the book, which
Okay.
I've never read the book, just being honest, I was reading a bit about the plot. I guess in the book, she has different visions from other people in her life that's not her husband. I think it works perfectly in the movie that it's her husband that she's talking to as well as herself. First off, Carla Gugino does a great job in this movie. She's fantastic. I think an underrated actress. She obviously plays distressed while she's real life trapped in bed, but then she has to play like the vision of herself that's trying to like be reasonable and calming her down and being, you know, the practical one. And the way that she portrays the two is very good.
That I agree. She did very well. And I do like the concept of that too, that she needs to have her other self pretty much tell her what to do because she's already going insane at that point.
First, before we get into it, this movie is probably going to have we're probably going to talk about some spoilers. So spoiler warning if you've never seen Gerald's Game. You know, I'd say 80% of this movie takes place in this one room where this lady is basically handcuffed to this bed. That's the whole premise of the idea. She's handcuffed to her bed. Her husband died of a heart attack, and she has no way to get out, and she might die. She has these little conversations with these basically like where she's kind of coming in and out of consciousness, and she's talking to herself and then her dead husband. And of course, it's not any outside information. It's all information that she kind of knows of. It's all within her that's telling her all this stuff.
Her subconscious talking to herself. Yeah.
And I love that because it's her projection she's seeing of herself that's giving her this useful information to help her survive. So it's really, she is like the fighter inside that she's been since she was a little kid, since she's had to be, that's getting her through this. You know, she's basically a survivor.
She is. But I love how the vision of her husband, that she envisioned him as she always thought he would be, the cruel, sadistic person. And I liked how it got worse and worse of how she actually portrays him now. I think the creepiest part for me was that how this movie was made, there's a lot of silence.
So before we get too into it, because I wanted to talk about this in the beginning, this is a Mike Flanagan movie. If you're not familiar with Mike Flanagan, this guy is basically one of the biggest horror name directors out there right now. You've probably seen a lot of his stuff on Netflix. The biggest thing he's ever done is going to be The Haunting of Hill House, the TV show that came out in 2018. A personal favorite of mine, the book I actually read that he did the movie, was Doctor Sleep, the sequel to The Shining. Really, really good movie. An underrated one is called Hush, which was a Netflix movie that he did with his wife. His wife appears in like every single thing that he does. Kate Siegel, she's in Gerald's Game. She plays the mom in the flashback, and she's basically in everything that he does. He's currently doing a remake of Carrie for Amazon. So there's that. And Gerald's Game. So he's done a lot of Stephen King stuff. And Mike Flanagan, he has a very unique style. And I think it really works in this movie because there's a lot of uncomfortable shots of characters looking into the camera that make you just feel kind of awkward and like something might happen. And I think a good use of a extreme close-up can be very effective and make you feel awkward. And I mean, when I was rewatching this movie, you know, obviously I'd seen it before, but I've not seen it in a while. And I was still like on edge and uncomfortable. And of course, the scenes that always made me get ready to be like, you know,
Night Man.
The Moonlight Man, yeah. I mistakenly called him the Midnight Man in the last episode, but he's
Yeah.
called the Moonlight Man. My God, is this character absolutely terrifying. And when I first watched this movie, I had no idea about the subplot of him. And had
Mhm.
no idea about the subplot of the flashbacks with the father, which we're not even going to go into. I don't even want to talk about that. But like that is really what made this story really solid, though, was those two things as far as like a horror story.
When she first sees the Moonlight Man the first night, it scared the crap out of me when he was in the corner. But it's the use of sound in this movie, or the lack of, that makes it so intense. When he just comes up, smiles,
Mm-hmm.
goes back, like that is creepy as fuck.
It really is. And like I was like preparing myself because I was like, oh man, like when that scene comes, I'm just like, I know it's creepy and I'm gonna be like on edge. And like I'll be honest, like, going to bed last night, I was a little on edge because I was just like, I don't want to look in my closet and just see like red
Well,
eyes.
I saw the movie closer to midnight
No,
and in pitch black.
good for you.
Yeah, I wanted to do that because I haven't watched a horror movie in pitch black like you're supposed to in a
Mhm.
while. So I was like, you know what? Let's do it. I'll be honest too. I was looking around the room.
Going into it, I'm like, all right, it's a lady and she's gonna be trapped in bed. Like,
Right.
okay, it's more gonna be like a survival horror movie, and like the stuff with the dog, that's
But it gets
could
creepy. It gets
no,
creepy.
it gets legitimately terrifying. Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, the Moonlight Man is what will give you nightmares, and he's not actually in the movie that much. I thought he was in it more than what I remembered. He's really only in two main scenes, and
Oh
then
yeah.
he's in like a couple quick inserts. So when I know we're jumping around, but when I first watched this movie, she finally breaks out.
Yeah.
First off, I love how this movie also is a practical survival movie where she's like the glass of water and she uses the
Oh,
little thing
that
as the
is.
straw.
I love that part, and I love how when she comes up with it is because of her subconscious telling her, like, yeah, you got it. That dress was brand new. It's like
Hmm.
brand new. The tag, I can use that as a straw. The subtle hint of why he took Viagra, like, makes it so thirsty. I did expect the cup to fall down the first time she tilts it forward. Like,
Hmm.
I was like, don't, no, 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 no.
Right. So you're rooting for this lady for all these like little things that she has to do, all these like mundane things, but because she's, strapped to this bed by herself, she has to do them. And then of course she finally breaks out at the end in the most gruesome way with her hand.
I
And
love that part.
which also was a callback to her flashback because that's how she was able to know that when the flashback of her cutting herself as a kid. But anyways, first time watching this movie, she finally breaks out, and it's still a little daylight, or it's getting close to dusk, and you're just
Mhm.
like, go, 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 and then of course she falls and hits, and then it cuts to dark, and you're just like, oh no, he's there, and it's what's gonna happen, and
Yeah,
the way they shoot it, where it's like down the barrel, but he's at the end of the hallway and you can just kind of barely see him. And you're just like,
I
oh
know.
God.
And the fact when they used the dog too was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, and that was a good thing about the dog too, because when the first time he appears, the dog literally bolts, right? You think, okay, because animals have that sixth sense of, they can sense ghosts or ghouls or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And like, okay, at first I thought Moonlight Man is death, like her husband keeps saying.
Mm-hmm.
It was very convincing. And
So,
then,
okay, I wanted to mention that real quick because this movie kind of toys with you. Like, was he real or
aha,
was he part of her hallucination?
I
And I
know,
love that it's like, no, he was real. He was really there, which
I
is
know.
terrifying.
That was the yes, I know. Because I mean, after this, when he appears the next time, that is her dream, but him real at the end of
Mm-hmm.
the hall, like you said. I still didn't think he was like real until they explained the bloody footprint. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh,
And I think that's the first time watching the movie that I was like, because there's a scene of the husband having the conversation with her in bed, where he's
Mhm.
like, "What about that footprint?" And you know, the why was the dog why is the dog gone? And then I'm like, "Oh, this movie is going to be terrifying." And it was. And of course, there's that little shot in the flashback where she's laying in bed, and all you hear is like off screen, and she looks up, and it's the Midnight Man, and like that's like the one big
Okay,
jump scare of the movie.
that I did not expect at all. I was literally thinking it's gonna be the dog, and she was just gonna kick the dog. But when you see those red eyes, like holy, oh, like, I didn't jump, but I was like surprised, like oh damn.
Yeah. And I think this movie does a good job of displaying PTSD after going through an incident like that. Cause like they
Okay,
show
no,
her towards the end, in the end of the movie, she cannot sleep at night. And like, if that were me, like I would not be able to sleep at night. Like
yeah,
I would just always be on edge.
every night.
But that's why she needed to go to the courthouse to see him in person, to have that confrontation, to get past that in her life.
Mhm. I do question like what are the odds and chances that he happened to be at that cabin?
Well, they do explain it where he started in Alabama and then he made his way to New Orleans, which that's where this movie takes place. In the book, it's Maine, I think. It's typical Stephen King.
Stephen King.
For some reason, this one they do Alabama and New Orleans, and they do explain, and they show it in the montage at the end where he started in Alabama and then he made his way to New Orleans or whatever. That kind of was the area that they were supposed to be in,
But it's just the chances that he happens to stumble upon that cabin.
and they left the front door open, and
Uh-huh, uh-huh. And I thought that was a little weird because even she looks back at the door like,
mhm.
why it's open still?
But I think it's because the husband just took the Viagra and he's like, "We got to go," because he knew he only had so much time.
Well, yeah, but you can see it in her eyes, like that. I need to close that door, or
Hmm.
she's already been pulled.
So, since this was your first time watching it, going in, you knew the basics.
Yeah.
Lady handcuffed to a bed, husband dies. Did you have like what? Did you have expectations of like okay? Because it's like a 100-minute movie. Like they obviously just can't. Like you've seen 127 hours. It's a guy who's stuck in this between this rock. But they do like scenes of like him hallucinating about other things. So like, did you have expectations of what this movie was going to go for or anything like that?
Like I said, I did see the trailer when it first came out, but I only saw the trailer like once, and I expected the like an entity to be more in that movie, which of course there was the Moonlight Man, which I thought was gonna be more. I did thought it was gonna take place mostly at night, not through like the whole weekend. That threw me off a little bit. I was like, all right, that's mostly what I expected, and to see like how she's struggling, which you do see, which I'm glad they did that. But overall, I think it exceeded my expectations for the most part.
I
I
really
do,
like this movie because of just it's that limited location, but they do
mhm,
so much with that limited location.
yeah,
Like this could have been a movie that I bet like if you gave this to 9 out of 10 filmmakers, they would have fucked it up. And they would have made it boring or cliche, but you gave it to just one of those guys who just knew how to make it right. And that's Mike Flanagan. Like I don't know, just like he hit the beats so well in this movie. Like you said, the lack of sound, and for me
mhm,
it was always the close ups of camera of like they'll
mhm.
cut and like somebody's like looking right at you and
Yep.
looking right at the camera. That it's uncomfortable. Like this
Even
movie
the
makes you feel
dog,
uncomfortable. What's that?
even the dog when he just stares, even that's uncomfortable.
Or just like chewing on the meat and you just see
Yeah.
it in like the corner, and or just like the shots where it's like, oh god, okay, so going back to the Moonlight Man, she's having the conversation with her husband and he
Mhm.
goes, what if he's under the bed? And then it kind of cuts and you just see like
A
the
hand.
angle, you see the hand come up and it's like, oh god, it's just yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like that kind of
Every
creepiness.
time that shot came up where you just see the husband's hand and a little bit of his head,
Hmm.
every time it was always silent, and the fact that it was it was on that shot for like a good 5 seconds. It's creepy. You expect something to happen. Something. Every time that shot. And yes, then the hand came up. Well, I was like, at first, I was like, okay, there's a hand coming up. But then it was like, that doesn't look like the moonlight.
The scares in this movie, they're not cheap. They're well done. They're well thought out. They are legitimately creepy. I will call this a pillow in the face movie because there's times when I was watching it where I kind of had the pillow in the face and I was like, oh god, like even though I'd seen it before, I couldn't quite remember everything and I'm just like, oh man. And I was just waiting for those scenes with the Moonlight Man because I was like, I know that's the most terrifying stuff. Or even like the part on the first day where she's in bed and she hears like twigs snapping outside, like somebody's walking around.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh shit, like who is that? And it's just like I don't know, it just has you so on edge.
Oh, yeah. Now that you mention that, so
Well, I think that's when the dog comes in because the dog hadn't come in yet. But also, I
right.
don't know if that was the dog or
Or
if that
the
was
moonlight.
somebody. Right.
Like now, I'm thinking about that. Like obviously, first you think it was the dog walking around the house. Now thinking about it and remembering it more, it did seem more like 2 steps instead of like a 4 steps.
Right.
Like, okay, so it might actually have been him starting to get there, and he was just toying with her at that point.
And also, where'd he go in between the nights? Imagine like walking in and just like that guy being there. Like, my God, the makeup effects on that. Oh,
Just, I mean, the actor himself already
right. He has the
like
condition,
looked
but like they made it even more
more. Yeah,
insane.
yeah.
And there is a little bit that still kind of confused me. Not too much, but I'm like, so he never actually, the Moonlight Man never actually attacks our main character, Jess. I believe her name is. Double
Uh,
checking. Jessie. So he never physically assaults her or attacks her,
no.
but it's because he's doing everything to the husband. That's like the whole thing. He's necrophiliac or whatever
Right, and
necrophilia.
that explains that at the end that he
Mm-hmm.
has a thing more to do with the guys and girls. She even
Mm-hmm.
says that too. Like, I guess I'm lucky at that point. So like, okay, there you go. And yeah, and seeing all the half his face missing, can't
Which is
tell.
at that point it's just like it was what was the dog? What
Uh-huh.
was him?
Like, what was the dog? What was him?
But then
And
they do have something where the husband mentioned like he's gonna take your
wedding
uh
ring.
well not just the wedding ring but her toe at some point.
Right.
Like when he comes back, he's gonna take your toe and that's
And
God.
your wedding ring will go missing.
But I also think that's where that fight for like survival comes in because he has that whole talk to her where he's like, they're gonna come in and they're gonna have to put a sheet over you because of just how
Mhm.
white the color of your skin's gonna be and just like the horror look on that
Yeah.
you're gonna look like. And I'm just like, man, I wouldn't want to be found that way. You know what I mean? Like handcuffed to a bed dead. Just I don't think that's where you really start to feel that like I gotta get. I'm not dying in this bed. Like I gotta get out of here. And I think this main character Jessie, she's a really strong and well written character.
That I agree. When he starts explaining about like the bone, he's gonna
Hmm.
take your bone. At that point, I think that's when she wakes up to the licking, and the dog bites her on her foot. So is that what he actually meant? That the
Mm.
dog was gonna bite her?
Well, he does say that the dog would basically he wants more fresh meat. So like
Right.
she would have been, I think the dog would have just waited till she was
Dead.
not put up a fight and then
Oh yeah.
went after her. And yeah, man, what an intense movie this is. It's not for the faint of heart. I would say this is one of the more intense Stephen King movies. I would put this over Misery as more intense.
That I would say, yeah, it's more intense than Misery, for sure. I don't know how intense would compare to like The Shining. I mean that you can get some intense scenes in The Shining.
Well, now we're talking like the big supernatural ones.
Yeah, I
This
mean,
movie is really
something supernatural in his
this movie's
story.
really down to its core just a survival movie. but like it's done in such a horror aesthetic, and it's
True.
I don't know, it's fantastic. I think this movie's great. I think this, for a guy that doesn't like Netflix, considered Netflix original movies, which I think this kind of technically is. I think it's one of the I
Hey,
don't know. I think it's one of the best Stephen King movies I've ever seen.
you gotta give it a try for In the Tall Grass in 1922.
Yeah, we'll see.
Both
I'd
Stephen
rather.
King.
Oh, speaking of, okay, so the book on the shelf, Midnight Mass, which was another
Oh,
show that Mike Flanagan did. So I like the little
that
call
was a good
back to
nod.
that. Yeah. Anyways, that's pretty much all I got.
Oh, one thing at the end when at the trial when he breaks it up and he says that line, "You're not real.
Hmm.
You're the moonlight." And like, what do you think about that? Like, what was he trying to do? Was he trying to like make fun of her, or was he impressed by her?
I think he was impressed by her. That was my reaction. I don't think he was trying to mock her at all. I think he was like, "Hey, it's you," and 'cause I don't think he was a character that was like evil, like truly. Like I think he was wrong in the head. I don't think he was mocking her. I think he was just
Like he
being
was
like,
flattered.
right. He was flattered, and he was trying. He was saying the line that she said to him. But just God, when he goes, it's like, oh my God, that's so
And
out
it's
of
like,
nowhere too, and everybody just starts like panicking and. Oh, it's so great.
that was really good.
That is Gerald's Game, the Stephen King adaptation by the great Mike Flanagan. I think it's a solid watch. I highly recommend it. Man, you watch it at night like Chris did, or I mean, I was watching it in the dark too, and God, some of those scenes, they will not make you want to get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of the night.
Nope. And
Because
it's worse too, because there's some dark corners in my room that was not fun.
I'm gonna mess with you and get two bright red lights the next time I come and visit. I'm gonna put them up somewhere, and they're gonna scare the heck out of you. So, anyways, that's all we got for this week of Crosscut.
Don't.
And anyways, make sure to hit that like, that subscribe, comment. Have you seen Gerald's Game? Have you read the book? What do you think of the Stephen King adaptation? Any big Mike Flanagan fans out there? Anybody excited for Carrie? I'll be honest, rewatching this makes me kind of want to rewatch Haunting a Hill House, man. It's a show I wouldn't mind doing a rewatch of, but that's for another time. Anyways, Chris, final thoughts.
I've always liked a lot of the Stephen King adaptations, but this one was intense. I like that it was Stephen King that I haven't watched before. I've been meaning to watch this movie since it came out, but I never had the time. It was very nice to see this. Very good use of sound and aesthetic. It was just all around a good horror movie. Definitely
There you go.
recommend it.
Chris recommends. We'll put it on the staff picks list. So Chris recommends Gerald's Game. All right. The sun's coming out, so it's time to take off. And I will end it by saying this. Don't ever do a double feature of E.T. and Gerald's Game. You'll never see Henry Thomas the same way again. All right. All right, Chris, come sit on my lap. Have a good night, everybody.
Ay, ay, ay. Cup print moving on.